Whatever happened to separation of church and state?
It's hanging in there. But I'm afraid the Constitution doesn't say anything about the separation of church and politics.
You saying that's a good thing?
Saying it's the way it is. Always has been.
You think the voter really needs to know if I go to church?
I don't need to know, but then I'm not going to vote for you anyway. It's not up to us to decide what the voters get to use in evaluating us.
A little odd coming from someone who wasn't exactly completely open about his health.
That was a big mistake.
Was it? What did we know about Lincoln's health when he was running? Nothing. Washington, Jefferson. What about FDR's health? And when he died in office, did people say, gee, why didn't he tell us he was sick? No. Did they say, I wish I didn't vote for him? No.
I don't know how you plan to handle this religious thing in the campaign.
Yeah, well, that makes two of us.
I could find a way to let it slip. I think a candidate's religion or how often he goes to church is not relevant to choosing a president.
You're going to say that on the way into church?
Are you accusing me of politicizing church-going?
You've had an awful lot of photo ops on the church steps.
I went to Mass every Sunday long before I went into politics.
I did too.
Why'd you stop?
One Christmas, my wife gave me a very old edition of the King James Bible. 17th century. It was a real find for a book collector. It was a thrill just to hold it. Then I read it.
You can't take it literally.
Yeah, well, that's what my priest friends kept telling me. But the more I read it, the less I could believe. I could not believe there was a God who said that the penalty for working on the Sabbath was death. I couldn't believe there was a God who said the penalty for adultery was death.
I'm more of a New Testament man myself.
I couldn't believe that there was a God who had no penalty for slavery. The Bible has no problem with slavery at all. Lincoln could have used a little help from the Bible.
You think Lincoln was an atheist?
I hope not. That would mean all his references to God were just purely political.
He didn't make any until he started running for office.
No. He certainly was a doubter.
What about you?
You going to try to save my soul?
Sorry.
Let's just say I struggled for a long time with that book. And then finally, I just gave up the struggle.
The only thing you can pray for in this job is the strength to get through the day. You can try coffee if you want, but prayer works better for me.
And you guys are not giving me any
we're blocking the bridges, the roads, yes.
Now, what am I going to do here, John? What is this?
All I know is that was no light show we saw this morning.
I've seen every form of combustion known to man. But this beats the hell out of me.
The walls in the 53rd precinct were bleeding. How do you explain that?
The Ghostbusters are here, Mr. Mayor.
Ghostbusters. Okay, the Ghostbusters.
Or you could accept the fact that this city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
What do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Enough, I get the point.
Right, here we are. You can play with your bones there.
We're enjoying very fine weather. Oliver, aren't you freezing? No. I'm impervious to cold. Someone did a study. So there wasn't anybody there. In the courtroom for your testimony. They taped it. They'd never stand for that in Gilead. No. They prefer their justice with a personal touch. Nooses and stuff. Yeah. My mom used to always tell me, if you want to know what they believe in, remember that they bought more copies of the Old Testament than the New. It's a much better read. The righteous will rejoice in vengeance and wash their feet from the blood of the wicked. It's good stuff.